The following is rated S for spoilers.
Hey, Steve. Did you guys see this? How many phones do you have? Someone was murdered. How many phones do you have?
2. Why?
Technically 3 if you got keys in the back.
Yeah, 3 works.
What are you doing?
Whoa, what are you, my pocket? No, not my tape! Dude! What are you doing, man? Setting up base of operations here. Hey.
Hello and welcome to the Popcorn Hangover. My name is Alex.
My name is Graham.
And today we are discussing Stranger Things. Season 4. Stranger Things as a whole.
Yeah.
All of the things that are strange. Graham, how you doing this week?
Dude, I'm doing good.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week.
It really has.
These episodes are really long.
Yeah, the only thing, I'm so happy I came in like right at the back end of things. I did not jump on season 4 when this first came out, like when it first released. So like the whole week leading up to the last 2 episodes on the 1st of July, we basically binged like every night. We were watching 1-2 episodes, getting caught up, and then literally had finished on Thursday night, Friday night, everything came out. Dude, it was so good.
It was really good. Stranger Things executive producers are Matt and Ross Duffer, Sean Levy, and Dan Cohen, who also wrote and directed at some point.
Yeah.
Starring everybody. I'm not going to go through that list. If you're really curious, go look it up on IMDb.
Or you probably already know.
I mean, you probably already know at this point. 4A released May 27th of 2022. 4B released July 1st of 2022. How did you feel about the split release? I guess for you it didn't really matter.
For me, it really didn't matter. A part of me thought it was kind of genius, dude. Like, one, if they released all that at once, that is several hours of content. Like, obviously, everyone would have still gotten through it, no problem. But also, like, I feel like breaking off those last 2 episodes, especially those last 2 episodes like they did, really set up the hype for, like, that season finale. Like, I think it was pretty genius to do.
I want to call it genius. The problem was it wasn't fully intentional. Because what happened was they were finishing VFX on 4B up until the day of release. And like there was even a patch the next day for both 4A and 4B. So like literally it just came down to it's been over 2 years since we've released season 3. It's too long. We just got to get it out as soon as we can.
Right.
So it was fully just a matter of the first 2 episodes weren't finished yet.
Which, here's the thing. In all honesty, I think if people actually take a second to understand that, like, using the time that they have is not a bad thing. Because, I mean, in that same way, I feel like, I mean, it's just like Top Gun. It was kind of accidental. Like, they had so much extra time from COVID. They used every second up until the movie came out. And that was a phenomenal movie. I mean, beautiful movie. Same thing with this. I think they used every minute they could. The effects looked incredible. A lot of it was like the biggest thing, like a lot of the effects were like practical too. Like the makeup done and stuff. I was really surprised about that when I found that out. But dude, I mean, it was.
The one for me was the helicopter. Like I saw that and just went,
yeah.
That was practical. That was not. I mean, I don't know. I hope it's practical now. I haven't actually looked.
I think it was.
But like, just looking at it, I was like, "There's no way that is.
Yeah.
That's fake. Like, that was a real explosion."
Well, I remember it was. Was it Hot Ones? Did you watch that one with Millie Bobby Brown, Sean Evans? It was like the normal episode or whatever, and they were sitting there talking, and she did say the craziest thing was like finding everything like dated in like the 80s and like that timeline. The hardest thing it took for them to find was like the helicopters, because they had like several helicopters from that time, and then that explosion, that was insane. That was so cool, dude.
Just practical effects, everything was fantastic. I'm glad they took the extra time. But yeah, like you said, like they built hype for 4A and then they just got to rebuild it for 4B. Like it was genius, but I don't know how intentional it was.
Right.
So I don't know if I can call it genius, but it worked out very well for them.
Accidental genius, I guess.
I don't know. I'm waiting to see if it's going to take over as Netflix's number one show.
Do you know what currently is the number 1 show?
It's Squid Game. The problem is Squid Game has more international appeal.
For sure.
Whereas this is...
I mean, you got Russia and America. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, this has international appeal, but it's not... I don't know. It's not... It's different.
Yeah.
But talking practical effects, expensive practical effects, this has a budget of about $30 million per episode, which comes together to about $270 million, which is only 100 million more than Top Gun Maverick.
Just 100 million more.
Well, I mean, when you think about it, Top Gun is 2.5 hours. This is probably 12.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
But I don't know. Looking at the numbers, I feel like it's kind of small, just because like I know they shoot on film, and I mean you have a massive cast, and they're all getting paid
Large sum of money.
I mean, if you're, Winona Ryder or David Harbour, you're getting like, I forget how much. It was like, I think it was like $350K. Millie Bobby Brown was at like 300, and then like all the Stranger Things kids were like 250.
Wait, really?
And everyone under them was like 200 per episode.
Okay, per episode. Okay.
So multiply that by 9.
Well, no, still
And
several $1 million.
Yes. So you have a lot of money going towards these really big actors. So I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty impressive number to put something together like this. Critical reception, Rotten Tomatoes says 89% critic score and a 90% audience score for the whole season. I mean, it's still early. It's only been out a couple of days. So
I guess that's true.
So these numbers might change a little bit. IMDb has an 8.7 average rating, and the Metascore has a 69. So,
Really?
And again, that's another one where I imagine that number will change.
Yeah.
Metascore, and actually I take that back. Metascore, that's only for the first half, because Metascore takes more time to actually calculate that number, whereas the other two are live numbers. I say that Rotten Tomatoes, they haven't put together the averages. I had to do that myself.
Yeah.
So like, those numbers will probably change. But as of recording, that is.
It's not bad though. Yeah.
So you said you like season 4.
I did. I honestly, overall, like, I think the whole show and like season, or series, I really did like. When 1 and 2 came out, season 1 and 2, I watched those right off the bat as they came out. Season 3, I actually never got into. I like took a solid break, never watched it, and I never had the intention to watch it either until the hype for season 4. And I was like, yeah, I should probably get on that, because I didn't just want to jump into season 4. I figured I'd be pretty lost. And so we actually did go through. We watched season 3, jumped in, caught up to season 4, like right before 4B came out, and then watched that through. So yeah, overall series, show as a whole, absolutely loved it. Season 4 was incredible though. I think I just really, yeah.
Would you say it's your favorite season of the show?
Honestly, yeah, probably. Just, I mean, it's.
But is it also like recency bias too? Like,
I think so. That's what I'm worried about. But honestly, like watching season 3 was like, in all honesty, besides like that last episode, like the last fight, like that major fight with like the Mind Flayer and like Billy and all that, like that was incredible. Absolutely loved that. I really didn't care for like anything else really in season 3, to be honest.
I really like season 3.
Yeah.
I really liked all of them. I think season 1 is just perfect.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like, I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty cliche thing to be like, oh, the first season was best, but like,
yeah,
it's just iconic. Like,
no, definitely.
Because I mean, my like history with it, like I watched season 1 a little before season 2 came out, and then so I watched season 2, and I was like, I just watched this first one like a couple months ago. I'm not going to watch it again. And then I just watched season 3 a couple years later, just solo.
Yeah.
So when it came to this one, I was like, I don't remember
anything.
But season 1, like I remembered every single beat, and I'd only seen it one time. Like I feel like that's pretty.
Yeah.
It's so great. I think season 1's like my top. 4 might be number 2.
Yeah.
For me.
I'd say that's very similar. Like when I was trying to think back, because like I said, I'd never seen season 3, but I knew about like Alexi and like a lot of the things with it. And so I was like, maybe I have seen it. And I honestly was like mixing 2 and 3 as if it was like one of its own season or something. And I was really confused. Season 1 in very similar way. Yeah. I can remember the whole thing through. I loved it, but I think, I'd say season 4 is probably my favorite out of all of them. Yeah. And also just cause like, not gonna lie, like everyone's acting in this was absolutely incredible. And I think just with the kids being a little older and more like mature in their acting, I think it's a little better too. But I mean, I can't really complain. Like they are literal children in the first season. So they did fantastic in that too. But I do think season 4 so far is like fantastic.
Yeah. I'll start by saying I did really enjoy season 4.
Yeah.
But I still can't figure out if it's brilliant or if it's not. for a few reasons, and maybe by the end of this episode, I mean that's why the whole kind of
I was like,
topic
where
of this
does
episode
that
is
get-
like, is Stranger Things the best show of all time? Because like we're just gonna think out loud this episode. That's
Sounds good, dude.
we're gonna break this down. That is the goal by the end of this hour. So it was great. It was a very different vibe. I mean, in the past, there's always been horror elements, but I feel like it's been more about like what's like this mystery. Like, let's break this down. But this was very much reversed of this is straight horror with a little mystery thrown in there.
Yeah.
I'm typically not a big horror fan, but I don't know. I really enjoyed the horror aspects. It was terrifying at
It was
times.
dark in areas.
It was very
dude.
dark.
I was surprised how
They showed several people just being completely
absolutely mutilated,
just yes.
brutally murdered. Just
But even down to like there were some crazy one take action sequences, like with the helicopter, the big one, like when the house gets raided, like that was incredible.
Yeah.
It's better action sequences than like any DC movie. Like I was blown away.
you don't have to try too hard to beat that. That's a very
No,
low
but like
standard,
it was. There's better action sequences than some Marvel movies, to be
That's
honest.
fair,
Like
yeah.
it was
100%.
super cool to watch. Especially the first few episodes of the season. The colors were more muted. They were more orangey. They used lots of harsh lighting. Like just it was a much darker vibe. Like right off the bat.
Because that's one thing I could tell. Season 3 was very like vibrant, going from one to the other. You could tell there was
Yes.
a very drastic difference in.
Yeah, you have like all the neon with the Starcourt Mall and
Yeah.
everything. One thing that I've been questioning a lot, like just going into it, and I was really trying to figure out like what was the point of this? Was the length of the episodes? Were they too long for you?
No.
No?
There were. And here's the thing, I can't even tell you what points might have been long. I know that there might have been like 1 or 2 episodes that I was like, yeah, that was like, it felt like a full hour, you know? But honestly, here's the thing, even the last episode, I don't even think we paused through it, man. Like we watched that all the way through, and I was like, even then, that did not feel like,
Right.
like 2.5 hours or 2 hours plus whatever it was. It did not feel like it was as long as it was.
Yeah. Especially the last episode, I remember I would look at it occasionally just because I'm big on like structure and like timing and everything. So I was trying to figure out like,
Oh, that always like ruins it for me. Anytime I check the time.
well, I don't know. I'm not like, it makes me intrigued because I was like, oh, wow, we're going to have like a 30, 40 minute like downhill. Like
Like after
okay,
this all
like, yeah, like
happens,
what's, yeah, like
You
I
have
don't
a cool
know.
down of, yeah.
For me, it's more interesting. I do it in movies too. I'll constantly check my watch just to like see like, especially like a second viewing.
How are they going
like,
to wrap this up? They got 10 minutes left.
Well,
Yeah.
especially like a second viewing, not necessarily that, but just, okay, so like inciting incident, okay, that's 30 minutes in, okay, halfway point is, we're at the halfway point of the runtime. Like,
Okay.
I don't know, that's how my mind works. Yeah, I couldn't, up until I finished the show, I didn't really understand it. But one of the things I appreciated was the fact that like the Duffers were just going, like you said earlier, like they were just going to let the show breathe, like let it take its time. That episode, I mean, it's 2.5 hours. They could have split that last section into 4 episodes. It comes out to 4 hours basically. But if you look at that last episode, like where do you stop? And if they did do that, like again, the finale would have just been all of the post action and everything that's going on.
Right.
Like that wouldn't have been a very satisfying episode in general, but especially for a conclusion, like it wouldn't have been very big. So I don't know. Part of me is like, I like watching a 1 hour show on like a 1 hour lunch break, but like you can't do that with this.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's on Netflix. So maybe I think most people are binging this anyway. So like, maybe it's not a bother, but that was just something that I was like, I don't know if it needed the length. I do think it could have been condensed, just with some story elements. Like there were so many new characters, and to be honest, I struggle to remember most of their names. Even you, like I texted you like a whole
I
thing,
know about,
and then
Eddie, and you were like Eric, and I was like, who the
yeah,
hell?
and I was like,
did I miss who Eric?
Yeah, I realized later. I was like, I didn't remember his name. The Cheech and Chong dude, like, why was he there?
Argyle?
Yes.
Yeah. What?
Like he was pointless. I'm sure he was there for comic relief, but like, okay, like this is a
Dude,
dark
he's
show. Like
great.
I don't need him to just randomly be like blundering around, like acting high all the
Dude,
time.
he was awesome, man.
It wasn't for me. Like you have like all the new Russian dudes. Like, okay, I guess they're fine, but like,
was his Antov or something? And
yeah, like there was like
I can't remember his name. Honestly,
there was like the traitor dude, the guy that kept like flipping sides, and like he was literally just there.
Yuri,
to, like,
I wanted to punch Yuri in the face.
Yuri. He was there
was
just
so
like make things
stupid.
like go on longer.
I
and longer.
hated that character so much, and obviously he was there to kind of hate. Oh,
Yes,
yeah, goodness,
but
man.
I just none of that was for me. I feel like we had to spend a lot of time developing these characters. Eddie, I will say, like I did come to love by the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But other than Eddie, I didn't care about the other two. Whatever.
That's fair. I'd say Argyle kind of felt the same way. If he was there, he was funny. Don't get me wrong. It was good. But if he wasn't there, like, I mean, yeah. Besides
Nothing
him being
would've
there
changed.
for his car, and then in that last part,
Like
having pizza
the only
place,
justification is like they needed something to change Jonathan. But to be honest, he could have just had a no name friend that got him hooked on weed, and
yeah,
he was just I don't know.
exactly.
The Mike Byers crew was totally pointless. That was a massive just waste of time. Like, especially considering that they told us where 11 was. It would have been different if
Right.
11 was kidnapped and like we as an audience didn't know.
Yeah,
But instead, we're watching them
just
go
literally
on this
get
mission to
there.
find out where she's at. Give Susie backstory that I didn't care about.
no one needed. Yeah,
You was just that alone could have been an hour that was stripped off of the full runtime. The Russia cruise were very not involved in the story, and even at the end, they're helping the kids by fighting all of the Demogorgons. Like that just felt very shoehorned. I do think it was important because like we have to bring back Hop somehow.
yeah.
What do you think the best solution I had to this was like, how would you feel if they did something similar to Euphoria and did like a special like season? So like with you, I know you've never seen Euphoria.
Never saw it. Yeah.
You should get on that. But like during COVID, they got shut down like 2 days before they were supposed to start shooting season 2.
Tough.
So they've already paid these actors, this crew, they've rented equipment and
Studios,
locations and
yeah.
everything. So what they did was they're like, all right, we're going to safely and quickly shoot a couple of specials basically to like fill the gaps. And so they just took a couple scenes and like expanded them.
Okay.
The first one with Rue is fantastic. Like you start it, like by the time you finish it, you are a different person. It's just a back and forth conversation. It's incredible. But anyway, they're not technically a part of a certain season, but it's still a part of like the narrative. How would you feel if they split off all of the Russia stuff into like a 4-episode miniseries that they released in between like either 3 or 4, or maybe even like 4A and then like a miniseries and then 4B, or like, how would you feel they split that off from season 4 as a whole?
Honestly, I truly wouldn't care for it too much. I kind of like how they did it, how they had it included. Just 'cause one, I absolutely love David Harbour.
Yeah.
Incredible actor. Dude is awesome. Absolutely jacked now too, which is good for him. But he, like, I don't know, I really liked how they kind of kept that all incorporated and stuff. I loved Murray. Like, I just thought like them having that whole, the trip to Alaska, trip to Russia, dealing with Yuri, all that crap. I liked it, honestly. Anytime it would like cut off, like by the time they got to Russia, I thought it was really funny, really cool. I mean, honestly, just seeing Hop like brutally just beaten, man breaks his own foot. Like there was a lot of that just like, oh, it's like, holy crap. Like he literally went through hell like several times now. Like, wow. I thought it really just, in the end, like I thought it was just good for his character. I liked it all.
Right. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I liked it too. And that's why I'm not saying like get rid of it. I'm saying let's twist it into something else, just because I feel like it has nothing to do with the Upside Down or Vecna or anything until the end. And it just felt like,
Here's the thing though, even then it didn't, did it? Because
well, the whole point was they were killing the Demogorgons. Yeah, it's like everyone was about to die.
Well, I know they had
and then
the-
Hop pulls a Neville Longbottom and slices off the Demogorgon's head. And then like the vines release and like everyone's good
okay,
to
so
go.
that was all, okay.
Yeah, so that was the whole point, was because it's a hive mind.
Yeah. Because I remember they were going to go in and they were going to light the stuff on fire and like burn that all, and it was already in the Demogorgon. Okay. I was a little, because at that point I was a little confused at the end. I was like, it worked, but
Yeah, it just felt like a weird, wait, we need them to do something that has,
right. Dude, they should have honestly just gotten on a plane and gone But I mean, then you just leave a weird open of Demogorgons are going to trash the world now. So
maybe I should have started with this point, because one of the things that like Stranger Things as a whole is very formulaic. Every season, because I went and watched all 4 like back to back.
Yeah.
So the thing I noticed immediately was that every season basically has 3 different stories going on. And one of the complaints I've had a lot with, I've said on the show a lot, like with shows, is I hate when they just have random side arcs that have nothing to do with each other. And at first glance, this show does exactly that. Like, if we look at season 1, just to get simpler, we have the kids in 11 are trying to find Will, but like, there's this weird girl with like magic powers, and it's like they have their stuff going on. Then you have like Joyce and Hopper who are investigating this lab and all the weird stuff going on. Then you have like Nancy and Jonathan hunting down monsters in the woods.
Yeah.
And at first glance, it's all totally unrelated.
Right.
But then in the last 2 episodes, they all come together and they all have split pieces of information. And as an audience member, we're seeing them all gather this information. And so like the last 2 episodes is like this
all comes together and it's
Infinity War style like crossover like within the show where it's like, whoa, like all this stuff is connected and it's a really cool moment.
Yeah.
And they do it every single season. And so naturally, like they would do that again. You know, we have all these different things going on. It's with the other seasons, like there are 3 narratives that are splitting under one umbrella, right? Like it's all season 1 is all about hunting Will Byers or finding Will Byers, I guess.
Right.
And there's all these different things going on, but like it's all under this umbrella. Here, the Duffers say that they've split off into 4 narratives. I can maybe say that there's 3. You have the stuff going on in Hawkins, the stuff going on like the West Coast, and then the stuff going on in Russia. So you still kind of have that 3. But then within that 3, it splits off even more into what I would call like 7 narratives, because you have you have 11 doing her thing. You have Will Byers, Will
and Mike and all that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That whole crew going their thing. You have Joyce in Murray,
Murray,
and then you have Hop in prison, and then you have the Hawkins crew, and they oftentimes split into 2 groups. Like, you just have a lot of stuff going on, and like it's all under one umbrella, but like it's easy to fit 3 people under an umbrella, but fitting 7 people under an umbrella, like someone's gonna get really wet.
I have to ask you a question. What did you think about the whole the high school basketball team jocks going crazy and doing
that's another one that I didn't mention. That was ridiculous,
bro. I hated those fools every second.
And I think that was the point.
Made me.
I think that's why the head jock dude got such a brutal and horrific murder.
In half. I'm so happy.
That was like, I was watching this like, even though I hated him, I was just like,
and it was quick too. Like I was watching like Al Sutter. She didn't even catch that, and she's like, she's like, I hope he dies. I like fell in. I was like, dude, man got torn in half. She's like, what?
He is not doing okay.
Saw it. And I was like, dude, it was Oh, I hated those guys.
Right. So yeah, like you just have all this stuff, and like when you're trying to fit it all under one umbrella, someone's gonna get wet. And I feel like, you know, the jocks, the Mike and Byers crew, a lot of the Russia stuff was just like it didn't fully fit, and I feel like you could have taken it out.
Yeah.
But also like it comes to another problem where they just have so many characters. Like I said, like we didn't go through all the stars because that would have been the entire episode just like naming everyone.
Yeah. So
I don't know. Like I can't tell. Like, is it brilliant the way that they balance everything? Because it was still well paced.
Right.
Like it's just each episode is really long. So like, is that really? At this point, I guess you're saying we're nitpicking. Like, it doesn't need to fit into a 1 hour formula like everything else. But like, was this other stuff necessary? Kind of, maybe not.
In all honesty, I think in some areas it just kept some characters like relevant, because there's a lot of times where it would cut back to like Will and Mike and Jonathan and all of them driving somewhere, and I was like, dude, I forgot that they were doing that. Like I forgot, because we're just going back and forth between Elle and like Nancy and all them, and going back and forth, and then just here's them, and I was like, oh yeah, shoot, they're still doing their thing. Yeah. Which even then in the end had literally really didn't do anything at all.
Right.
But
yeah, until the end where they helped Elle and Mike confessed his love. There's so many characters. I can't keep up with all of their names.
Will never confessed his love.
We'll see. We'll talk about Will in a little bit. My last kind of thing is like, Vecna was kind of a lame villain for me. I think, especially in 4A, I was like, they got to tread very carefully to like not let this just be like, oh, by the way, I've been pulling the strings the whole time. I think they did a good job at like establishing it, but my problem is like the Upside Down isn't mysterious anymore.
Well, and I had a question too, because like in the end they were, they had the theory of like, so Vecna can open gates to let something else bigger in. Like everyone just thought, like, was Vecna like he was the head guy that ruled the under?
Yeah,
it's Upside Down.
My understanding was, he's the one who's been orchestrating everything. So like, the Demogorgons, that was kind of a mistake, but like with the Mind Flayer and everything, that was him.
Well, see, I took it as like the Mind Flayer is still like the big bad, because like even when he says like, oh, when he's like, you sent me to this whole new world, he's like, and then even I found something bigger than myself, and it shows like the Mind Flayer. Oh,
yeah, because like the Mind Flayer is like,
do you think
is like the sand stuff that you were talking about? Yeah. So
did that like go inside of him? Did he like consume
I don't know
it?
if it's
and now
inside
he's
of. I think we're getting a little too deep into it, but I think he's the one with control, and everything's a hive mind. So like that's what he meant by something bigger. Like he's a part of all of these different individual minds.
Okay,
that's how I took it.
That makes a little more sense. Yeah.
But also like, I mean, the thing when you have like a Demogorgon or a Mind Flayer, like it's just a monster, like
Demodog.
Yeah, a Demodog, an upside down bat. Is that what it's called?
No,
when you have like a monster, it's like, oh, it's a monster. It likes to destroy things.
Right.
Cool. But when you have an actual like conscious, I don't know, like a person, you have to have motivation, and Vecna's motivation is that like his parents wanted to take him to a doctor for his powers, and then he was experimented on. Yeah. And so now he wants to destroy the world.
Just Hawkins, because he went to.
No,
I know he talked about world domination. Yeah, but I know he's so fixed on starting with Hawkins and destroying that, and I'm just like, yeah,
it's kind of like, really.
I have a question. How thrown off were you with the way it ended, with one being Vecna and that getting revealed? Did you see that coming from a mile away or no?
I did not see it coming from a mile away.
I had a few friends, like a few people that I've talked to have been like, yeah, no, that was like really blatant and like obvious that one was going to be, especially him being the orderly. Like everyone's like, dude, like the orderly, like you could tell he was the best one.
That's one thing. Saying that they knew it was going to be Vecna is another, because those two pieces don't ever intertwine.
I got that spoiled for me. Like I said, I think I mentioned, because I was watching a TikTok where I saw the actor who plays one sat in a chair and basically had all of Vecna's makeup and practical effects put on him. And so I was like, oh, that looks really scary. Like that's dope. And I just thought that was the guy who bodied Vecna. And I see him come in as an orderly, and I was like, damn.
Yes. Okay. So I guess if you watch credits, then that would. I always just skip.
But even then, I would say like, so family, friends, like other people were just like, dude, like people today, I got text messages that were like, that was insane. That blew my mind how that ended. And I was like, for me, I was like, yeah, it all came together pretty well. But I don't know if I kind of wish I had that. Like I genuinely had nothing spoiled, and I could have like watched that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cause I wonder if I would have caught on or not, but
I didn't catch on, but there's so many things going on that like I think
it's hard not
that's to their benefit, and like
down on one
and back
thing,
to like their formulaic structure. Like they still, that was the same thing where like Nancy was seeing one thing and 11 was seeing another thing. Like all of these different perspectives had all this different information. It was all coming together. So like they still kind of kept to what they were doing, like the normal thing. So I don't know. Season 5 is still a thing, so I don't want to like reserve a ton of judgment and say Vecna sucks. Like,
he's not gone.
He's not gone.
Still there. Yeah.
The Duffers have said season 5 is going to very much be about the Upside Down and what's going on with that.
Dope.
Obviously, since it's kind of a part of the world now.
Yeah. People are going to be in and out of that thing.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see more. I'm excited to see more. The last thing I will say that I did think was pretty brilliant was how season 4B especially was basically Empire from Star Wars. Like, we're gonna like build up, like it's ultimately they lost, like we're gonna look off into the vastness of not space, but instead the vastness of the Upside Down. Like it was basically it was basically Empire, and like it was very much I mean, I think that's the perfect like penultimate episode, like the penultimate like moments, basically. How do you set up a finale to a show as big as Stranger Things? I think this was like the perfect
way to
set up,
tie that off.
Yeah, to a finale.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was done really well.
We've been talking Stranger Things season 4 so far, and I'm not done because I'm still not convinced if I like this show or if I think it's dumb. So we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna dive a little deeper into
sounds good,
into our thoughts. So we'll be right back.
Dude, I'm so glad we're doing this.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a lot of fun, and it's not as difficult as I thought it would be.
No, not at all. Like Anchor has made it especially easy when it comes to like actually getting our podcast out on the air. Because when hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on all the listening platforms. So easy getting it over to Spotify, getting it to Apple, wherever you're trying to get your podcast to.
Yeah, I think we're on like 7 platforms just through Anchor, and not even just the distribution, but even just creating the podcast. Like there's so many recording and editing tools within it, so you can record, edit, add music in, sound effects, all sorts of things directly through Anchor, and it is free.
Dude, that's amazing.
It's incredible. So if you would like to start your own podcast, just like ours, go to anchor.fm on your desktop device, or you can go on to your mobile app store and download the Anchor app. We're back, talking Stranger Things.
We're back.
Season 4. So, Graham, right off the bat, do you think this is the greatest show of all time?
No.
No?
No.
That was very definitive.
I personally have recently, over the past year plus, Ted Lasso on Apple TV Plus, that sits in my heart and my mind as one of my favorite show of all time. I absolutely love that show. That is literally just a perfect show, all in all. This, I could say, is easily, for me, everyone on here and that knows me, I'm not a fan of Netflix. I don't care for the service. If I was paying for it, I wouldn't be paying for it, but I'm not, so I use it, which is fair. I do
That was
think
a confusing way to say that.
I could say this is Netflix's greatest show that they've made, at least in my opinion.
Easily.
When it comes to Squid Game, never cared for it, never got into it, didn't have the interest. I tried to watch it, but I just, didn't care for that. So like, I will, season 5 comes back, I'll be right on it. Obviously, I'll watch it. I'll continue to watch this too, but I would say there's not much on Netflix that I would say that about. But this, I would say, is definitely Netflix's best show that they've ever made.
Yeah, easily. And I mean, and it's very much a clickbaity title too, right? Like, greatest show of all time. Like, we're talking, sitcoms and dramas are going to play versus like reality TV. Like, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I think all time. Where does that sit with you? How do you feel about that?
I want to say it's the greatest show of all time, but maybe my thoughts will change by the end of the segment.
Maybe
we'll see. Probably not. If we're just being realistic, I don't know. I don't know if it's the greatest show of all time. I definitely think it deserves a lot of recognition. And in terms of like, if we're looking at drama specifically, it's definitely top tier.
Yeah,
this is a tier list. This is S tier. I don't know. It's a fantastic show. Here's a few reasons why it could be the best.
Okay.
Number one, the Duffers are masters of subverting your expectations.
For sure.
Especially with a season like this that was split. I feel like so much of the narrative with press and everything, even like actors saying was like, oh, like no one's safe, everyone's gonna die. No one really meaningful died this season. Brenner died a second time.
I didn't care about him.
Whatever. Eddie died.
That tore me apart, bro.
They do it every season.
Yeah. Last season you had Alexi, new character brought up. Everyone loved him.
Season before you had Sam.
Yep.
Samwise Gamgee. That wasn't actually his name, but he will always be Sam to me.
That's how I picked up on. Yeah.
Yeah, like like just some new character that everyone falls in love with, and then all right, we're gonna kill him now.
Yeah.
So Eddie was kind of expected, but like,
well, here's the thing. Honestly, I can't agree. I would say I was a little unexpected. I was either gonna go two ways for me. Either Steve was gonna die and Eddie was gonna be alive, or Steve stayed alive and Eddie was gonna die. And towards the end, you could definitely tell. But man, that death, man, I'm not gonna lie, dude, I don't cry at a lot of things. I don't cry really at all when it comes to a lot of TV shows, especially TV shows. But dude, that whole scene tore me up, man. That was so sad. It
was devastating. Like I said earlier, like just none of the new characters just really struck a chord with me. That's just me personally.
I think Eddie was the only one.
Yeah,
easily
for sure.
Yeah, and even Max's descent.
So that's a good question. Do you think Max is dead?
Man, I think I'm a little worried that they're just going to use her as like she's in some like weird kind of limbo state, and somehow Vecna's he's so hurt he's gonna need a body to get into, and he's going to take over Max. Kind of like a Billy situation. That's how I see that happening in next season, because I think Max is gone. She's in a coma, whatever. She hasn't woken up. I don't think she's going to wake up. I think she's going to be in the hospital halfway through the season. Bad guy finds body comes alive. Oh, hey, Max is up, but it's not Max. That's how I see it. Like, I think Max is dead.
Yeah. A lot of it comes down to, like, is why couldn't 11 find her? I agree. I think Max, as we know her, is gone.
Yep.
But I could also see it being some sort of, like, Vecna, like, stole her mind and they have to save it or, like, put it back. I don't know. I could see.
She comes reborn with, like, powers or something.
That would be interesting.
That would be, yeah.
That definitely subvert expectations.
That's a fact.
Yeah, there was you're just talking about these deaths though too, right? Like there's a lot of cliches in this show over and over and over again. Brenner, for example, iconic cliche. You have this villain character who dies in his last moments. He's like, please, you misunderstand me. Forgive me.
Walked away from him.
Yeah, and like this, like I was like the whole scene. I was like, "Are you serious? Like you're really gonna pull this? Like this guy's awful to her. Like literally just put her in a shot collar. Do not do this." And 11 was just like, "See ya, dude."
Deuces, yeah.
Like,
I gotta say, I hated the whole Papa daughter the kid thing. Like he wasn't actually any of their dads, right? Like he was just okay. That's what I thought.
But 11 was stolen at birth.
Well, no, I know. That's why I was like, I didn't know if he was baby daddy, and then he was finding all these ladies who could give birth to, like,
Are you sure you watched this show?
No, I did, but I just like, no, that's what I'm saying. That was like my initial thoughts when they were like the whole like Papa daughter thing, and then I just like then I knew it wasn't. So then I'm like going through the show, and I'm just like every time they would do that, I was just like, don't say that. That's just so weird. I don't know. Didn't like that vibe.
What else are you gonna call him?
I don't know. Just not that, bro. I don't know.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. I like they started to go cliche, and then they said, nope, we're gonna take this direction and actually should go in. Like that was brilliant. And just in general, like everyone was marked for death. Most people were like, Steve's gonna die. I was positive he was gonna die up until he got grabbed by the vines. Like,
I thought he was gonna get straight eaten up, man, right at the end of A4, and I was like,
Also,
he just walks away from that like nothing happened. Boy, your stomach was missing. Like,
that was a little tough, but like, the stuff with Nancy, she was in several situations where I was concerned for her safety.
Yeah.
Next season, I feel like it has to end with either her and Steve getting together, or
I think
one or both of them dying.
I think she'll for sure die, only because Vecna's already been in her head once. I think it'll be an easy.
That's a good point.
Right back. I think she'll have the same like nightmare flashbacks to it. I think she's kind of.
But there were so many moments where like,
they should.
Max was another one where like several like. The entire season was based around her potentially dying.
Yeah.
Will, when Will said, "Hey, Mike, like you're the heart of the group. Like we can't go on without you." I was like, "Is Mike gonna die?" Like just everyone at some point had these moments where I was like, "They're not safe." I thought Luke was gonna like do some sacrifice play at the end. Or like,
I did too. I really thought he wasn't gonna make it, and then Max was gonna be at that halfway point. like when she came down and she was like blind and snapped, and I was like, oh no, it's over for her. But I thought there was going to be some point where he was going to step in with Jason, or he was going to jump in front of a bullet. Jason was going to dip. She was going to still be fine because the other saved her. But
yeah, just and I think maybe that is just part of like that press run, and maybe they told everyone, hey, tell everyone that like everyone's going to die, because like it made me anxious and it made me scared for everybody. And in the situation, like you should be, but typically in a show, like, oh, you're the top billed actor, obviously they're not going to kill you,
right?
But I love the way that this wasn't intentional, but like I'm going to assume that they manipulated the media to be like, hey, nobody's safe, anyone can die. And like
they had the billboards all around. It was like protect Steve at all costs. Like when that went up, like a few days.
I don't think
before,
that's a Netflix thing though. That I feel like
you think it was like a fan thing.
There's no way that Netflix would do that.
I think
I haven't seen that, so I don't know.
There was like
that seems extremely fake to me.
No, I'm pretty sure that was like actual Netflix, bro.
But
maybe.
But anyway, like it's just that enhanced the experience so much. As for someone who is like obsessed with like predicting where things are going,
right?
There was no predicting.
This one threw you for a loop, man. Yeah.
I don't want to say it threw me for a loop. Honestly, like by the end, immediately it kind of left me a little unsatisfied because I was hoping for some big moment from someone. Like they kept building up to this stuff, and again, it makes me excited for season 5 because this is a penultimate episode. Like I keep saying episode, penultimate season.
Yeah.
I think it's setting all the chess pieces in place for the last season to just be a bloodbath for.
What if the world just like ended?
Everybody. I don't think so because the Duffers are already working on a spinoff series. So
dope.
And no one knows what it is except for I guess Finn Wolfhard just randomly like just guessed it. It wasn't like they were just like naming stuff. He was just like, oh, it'd be cool if you did this, like just on his own. And they're like,
what the hell?
Yeah, we are doing that actually. He's like, oh, okay. So
that's
they're doing a spinoff of something that nobody can
put together,
can predict.
Okay.
The big thing for me with this show I don't know. Let's go here first. Acting in this show is top notch.
Incredible. Yeah.
Everyone is perfectly casted. I can't imagine anybody else playing these roles.
No. Yeah.
And the thing I was thinking about that just blows my mind is that they hired a bunch of 10-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, like this is all that these 10-year-olds have done. I mean, like they've branched off a little bit, like
one here and there.
At the end of the day, like this is their biggest thing, and like
they're going to be known for this.
All of them have grown up. Everyone in this show deserves like an Emmy for Best Actor, like
for sure.
Millie Bobby Brown, like I cannot imagine. And just about every scene, she's either crying or screaming. Like the amount of like emotional turmoil that like she has to express, and like she's not a crazy person in real life,
right? Is
incredible. I love Gaten Matarazzo.
Yeah,
he's fantastic. That moment with Eddie was just heartbreaking. And then parallel to that was Kayla McLaughlin, who is like holding Sadie Sink.
Dude, I felt like I was watching like Iron Man and Spider-Man, dude, right before he got dusted.
Yeah, like that.
Like, I can't see anything. It's like, oh my gosh.
That was heartbreak. Like that was incredible acting. Finn Wolfhard.
He didn't do much this season, but he was there.
I mean, in the moment where he's like confessing his love again,
as that's speech,
again back to subverting expectations. Like that is extremely cliche. Like, oh, I love you. Like love's true first. True kiss, and like she wakes up, whatever. That should have been that, but they actually like gave it like meaning and power. Where he's like, it's like a defense mechanism. I'm scared that like you're not gonna need me anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
we just let all truth out there. I mean, it was just
there was like weight to it.
Yeah.
Acting across the board was just fantastic. But the standouts for me this season were Joe Keery and Sadie Sink. Joe Keery,
I love him. He's great in literally everything.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
One thing I noticed with Steve is like in season 1, you hate Steve, right? Like he's just the worst, and like the entire time you're just like, Nancy, what are you doing? Like
Chad,
like ditch this guy.
Yeah.
And then now you're kind of like, maybe I'd be okay if like Steve and Nancy like finally got together, and like
it honestly made me so mad.
I do like Steve and Jonathan, but like. Or not Steve Jonathan.
Nancy and Jonathan?
Nancy and Jonathan.
I don't. I hate every single part of that. I've never been a fan of that.
I don't know.
I'm a Steve Stan all day, every day.
Yeah, I don't know. Just Joe Keery is just an amazing actor.
Yeah.
And overall, like his arc really reminds me of how Dave Filoni wrote Ahsoka. This is a bit of a side tangent off of Stranger Things, but Dave Filoni,
we need to have a drinking game where anytime we tie this back to anything Star Wars related, just drink.
Yes. Like he had the hard task of creating this new show with all these beloved characters and then introducing a new one. And the risk that you have with that is like some people are gonna, you might love this new character or you might hate this new character.
Right.
And like just because a new character, some people are going to hate her.
Yeah.
And so Dave Filoni did the most genius thing of all time. He said, I'm going to take control of the narrative and I'm going to write the most annoying, obnoxious character I possibly can. So everybody hates Ahsoka in this Clone Wars movie in like the first few episodes.
Yeah.
But then by the end of the Clone Wars, like she's leaving the Jedi Order and you're like bawling because
Can't lose her.
Not that you lose her, but because she had so much room to grow. You start her at like the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And then now you have tons of room for her to develop and become a mature Jedi Knight. And so like then you fall in love with her and now she has her own show and like people love Ahsoka. She's my favorite Star Wars character. Like
easy. Yeah.
It's an amazing idea. And I think they did the exact same thing with Steve. They don't have the same stakes, of course, but like,
yeah,
they wrote this awful dude that nobody likes and then just that leaves him so much room to grow. And like, he's the babysitter now. And like, I don't know, everyone loves Steve now because they've allowed so much room for him to like grow and develop, which is genius. But stand up for me is Sadie Sink by far. Episode 4, Dear Billy, was like, I saw the title come up and I just went, oh no.
It was a heavy episode.
Yeah, it was just, and again, like the amount of emotional weight and a lot of the subtle things that she did. And just like, you can tell that like she wants to talk about this and like, but she's worried that she's going to die or like whatever. Or even just
self closed off and
even again, subverting expectations. Keep going back to it. Like the whole season, it's kind of like a cliche, like, oh, I watched my brother die. Like I'm sad. And the entire time I'm thinking, okay, I get why you'd be a little depressed, but also like he was a bully.
Right.
Like he tortured you.
Yeah.
You hated his dad. Like he's gone. Like sure, it had an impact on your mom, but like whatever. Like
you got to feel something.
You shouldn't feel that bad. And I loved how they came back and she was like, I don't feel bad because he died. I feel bad because I manifested his death.
Right.
And like that was like, whoa. And then like just going back and like looking at, the episodes after realizing that you see like, yeah, like there's definitely hints of that. Like you just kind of assume that they were doing this classic cliche thing.
Yeah.
Sadie Sink was like phenomenal. If anyone deserves an Emmy, it's her.
Yeah.
I loved Sadie Sink in this episode. I'm excited to see like what she does next, assuming she doesn't come back for season 5 in a very meaningful way. I'm sure she will. But there's always the potential that they'll just leave her in a coma. I don't think they will because the Duffers are brilliant.
Yeah.
And they won't take
They've
that
already
cop
got
out.
it all planned out.
Yeah. But here's my big thing with this show and why I think it is just, it's brilliant. The Duffers are not scared to evolve the show. One of my favorite shows of all time is How I Met Your Mother. I've seen it more times than I can count. Love that show. It's brilliant. But the one thing that just about anyone who's seen that show can agree on is that the finale sucks.
Oh, 100%.
And without, I don't know, I won't spoil the finale just because that's not what this episode's about. But like,
who hasn't seen this show?
I mean, it's old, whatever.
Yeah.
When it comes to the finale, the problem is like you have these kids that, are being told this story. And so you have to have like, from the beginning, they had to basically say, here's how it's going to end so we can film these kids while they're still kids for the final episode, which is very forward thinking.
Yeah.
And I also thought it was brilliant that like they had multiple endings where if they didn't get tagged on for another season, like they said Victoria was going to be the mother. So like they thought it through, but the problem is that after 9 seasons, like the show evolves and the characters evolve. And so like the last season is all about this wedding. And then in the next episode, the newly married couple gets a divorce. And then like, like all this just ridiculous stuff happens
Yeah.
because they have this defined ending that they can't evolve into. Like, the show just naturally is going to change and develop as time goes on.
Right.
Audiences are going to change. And so you have to evolve, and that show couldn't evolve. So it has a terrible ending.
Yeah.
The Duffers are not scared. I mean, they don't have a defined ending, right?
Right. I mean, they might.
And even they might.
I don't think they do.
I don't think they do. And they've said that prior, season 5 is going. They imagine season 5 having a time jump of multiple years.
Shoot.
Which maybe they were lying just to not kind of give people ideas of the ending of this, but I can't imagine them jumping ahead several years because just with the the world is cracked open. They're just gonna
You kind of have to act on that a little sooner.
yeah, they're just gonna let this happen, just be there for a couple years. I can't imagine that. And so maybe maybe it was just a lie, but if it wasn't, they were genuinely meaning, if we want to jump ahead. I mean, these kids are now, none of them will be adults by the time season 5 comes out.
Right.
Will's the only one who's 17.
They recast.
Not gonna recast, but the problem is,
Have you seen the whole kind of like how they did? I've seen all over Twitter how they did it. The first movie, second movie, just had the adult cast reflect something very similar.
oh no, I mean they would jump ahead so they can keep the same cast, but they would be closer to their actual age.
Right. It would just be maybe a few years, not like a 10, 15 year jump.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Regardless, I don't think they're going to do that. Which tells me that the story is not set in stone. They're willing to play with different ideas.
Yeah.
And that's the way that shows should be done, but that's not typically how it works.
It's been done,
Especially with network TV, you have summer break and then it's okay. We have to figure out how to tell the story now.
Right.
Get us out of this bind that we put ourselves in the last season. With a show like this, I mean, it's typically there's about 2.5 years in between each season. They have time, and they're going to take their time to tell the best story that they possibly can, which I appreciate, and that it allows you to have a really great show without a whole lot of issues. One of the big things that with evolving a show, right, is you have these actors, and especially, like we said a second ago, these guys are 10.
Right.
And I think the oldest one was 13, maybe in the first season. These are children, and they're going to change. But immediately you can see in between season 1 and season 2 how they saw how different actors worked with each other, and they use that to their advantage. And so we have Millie Bobby Brown and David Harbour. If you watch them impress, they're adorable together.
Yeah.
And so they said, cool, let's make that a thing. And so they spend the entirety of season 2 together.
Right.
And it's a fantastic father-daughter relationship. And they were able to develop the characters in ways that I doubt they imagined they would in the first season. Dustin and Steve is the most iconic bromance of all time.
Yeah.
And that happened because they saw how the two, not even how they interacted together, just they saw the two personalities and said,
right,
what if we put them together? This could be awesome. And it's amazing.
Great. Yeah.
I mean, the whole kind of subplot in this season is threatening that bromance.
Steve
it's
getting jealous of Eddie, and
right. It's brilliant. And the thing that's amazing with a show versus a movie is you can take advantage of that. You can see how different people play with each other. And I think that's one of the things that's made the MCU successful is they're able to see, what if we took Taika Waititi's Thor and put him with the Guardians of the Galaxy? That would be such a great mixture.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't know that if it is yet.
We're going to find out.
I imagine it will be a great mixture. Stay tuned for next week's episode. But yeah, it's just, you're finding these actors that work so well together, and you can't do that if you're not just watching, right? And I think that's brilliant. Last thing I'll say is with genre, we talked about a little at the front of the episode, this season just feels so different than anything else. And even season 3 was bright and colorful and was extremely different. They're not scared to take risks and to
the horror aspect of the show.
Right. Like
Yeah.
this started as like a mystery thriller, and now this is just people are getting ripped in half, their eyes are popping out, and like their bones are all cracking. Like this is straight horror, but it still feels like the same show.
Yeah.
And that's evolution, like at its definition. Like it's different, but it's
the same.
It's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think on all that? That was a pretty long rant from me.
Nah, dude, I agree. I see the show, it's the way it's been done and the way it's, no matter what direction it goes in the future, they're not going to have any problems. The Duffer Brothers are fantastic. I mean, I don't think they have like you said, I don't think they have that end plan already set up, but I don't think they'll have any issues going in whatever direction they need to go in.
No.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
And I don't think the fans would. I mean, shoot, this was ridiculously hyped up and well accepted so far, as far as we could tell when it just comes to everything I've seen on social media and the reviews so far. I don't think there's too much that they could do that is going to upset a lot of people. Because even, like I said, even in that finale, they could have killed anyone off, and everyone would have been like, "Oh, that's so sad," but like understandable, and we would have gotten new characters that we love.
Well, yeah, and like, I mean, they set everyone up. Everyone was right for death. I was scared for everyone.
I know. You texted me a whole list. You were like, either these people are going to die, this is going to happen, this is how it's going to end. None of that happened.
None of it happened.
But
I was kind of upset.
Yeah.
Just a little bit that I was so wrong.
But no. But that's the thing. Is you're right. They marked everyone. It could have gone any way. But like I said, even the way it did end so far, it works.
Yeah.
And it's going to work. And season 5, I think it's going to be phenomenal no matter what comes out. Honestly, I have no worries. This is one of those things where it's like, not worried what they're going to do. I'm just excited for what they're going to do.
Yeah. The thing I hate about binge culture is now we have to wait an undefined amount of time.
Yeah.
For the next season to come out.
That is one thing I do like, the weekly drops. Like I know, like I remember thinking like I used to watch like shows on TV. Like we used to watch like Arrow and The Flash and all those CW shows. And it was week by week. It was like every Monday, every Tuesday night, whatever it was. And that's what I grew up doing. And then we get Netflix and we get Hulu and then we just get these season drops and we'd binge it all. And now we're kind of back to the mix of like Netflix just does the full drop. And then you got Hulu where you can watch like live TV the next day or Disney once a week. And I think it's a weird mix, but it works.
That's interesting. We should do like a whole episode on just like streaming wars and like discussing different streaming platforms.
Because I think I honestly I've really liked the weekly structure, but it is fun to binge a show. And like you're saying, I did not sit down and watch that in one day. We spread it out across a week and weekend. Honestly.
You have to.
I know. And I think that honestly helped even more because we'd watch an episode that night and we'd both sit there for 30 minutes being like, what the hell did we just watch? And then we were just ready to start the second one, but we were like, nah, we should. It's 1 a.m. Let's wait till tomorrow. Kind of a thing.
I wish I had that kind of self-control. Graham, do you have any final thoughts on Stranger Things?
Not much, man. I enjoyed watching the show. Like I said, excited for whatever they come out with next. Truly, not worried about it. Just excited.
Just excited.
Just excited.
That's a good way to put it. I failed in my mission to determine if this is the best show or not.
Yeah.
I do think it's brilliant. I will say
I
that.
do too.
I think this is a brilliant show. I don't think it was just like a fluke or,
like lucky chance or.
While there are things that like could be changed, sure. Like it's nothing substantial enough to say like this show is bad or.
Oh, for sure.
Whatever. It's still.
Yeah.
It's still amazing.
Yeah. 100%.
Yes. This has been the Popcorn Hangover. Follow us on all the things. TikTok, Instagram. Patreon.com/thepopcornhangover.
Yeah, we'll have a new parking lot talk this next week for
yes.
Excited for that one.
Yes. So stay tuned, and we will see you next time.
Peace.